In this video, we're going to learn how to identify natural numbers and whole numbers. Learning algebra is similar to learning a language. You start with a basic vocabulary and then add to it as you go along. You need to practice often until the vocabulary becomes easy to you. And the more you use the vocabulary, the more familiar it becomes. Algebra uses numbers and symbols to represent words and ideas. Let's look at numbers first. The most basic numbers used in algebra are those we use to count objects: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on. These are called natural numbers. The notation is called an ellipsis, which is just another way to show and so on, or that the pattern continues endlessly. Natural numbers are also called counting numbers. Counting numbers and whole numbers can be visualized on a number line. The numbers on the number line increase as you go from left to right and decrease when you go right to left. The point labeled 0 is called the origin. The points are equally spaced to the right of 0 and labeled with natural numbers. When a number is paired with a point, it is called the coordinate of a point. The discovery of 0 was a big step in the history of mathematics. Including 0 with the natural numbers gives a new set called whole numbers. Whole numbers are just the natural numbers and 0. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on. We stopped at 5 when listing the first few natural numbers and whole numbers, although we could have written more numbers if they were needed to make the pattern clear. Now let's take a look at a few examples, and we are going to determine whether the following numbers are A, natural numbers, B, whole numbers. So our first problem, we have the numbers 0, 2/3, 5, 8.1, and 125. So remember, natural numbers are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on. And whole numbers are all of the natural numbers in 0. So let's start with looking for natural numbers. We notice right away that the number 2/3 is a fraction, and if you haven't learned fractions yet, that's okay. We just recognize that it's not a natural number, so we can cross that out. And then we notice 8.1. Well, that's a decimal, and I can't count 8.1 with my fingers, so we're going to get rid of that number. Since 2/3 and 8.1 cannot be natural numbers, they're also not going to be whole numbers. So we're left with 0, 5, 125. So 5 is a natural number, and 125 is a natural number, because I can continue this counting pattern and get to 125 eventually. So for whole numbers, we're just left with 0, 5, 125. Because whole numbers includes natural numbers, we automatically get 5 and 125, and we also get that 0. So we get 0, 5, and 125. The next problem, we have the numbers 0, 7/10, 3, 20.5, and 300. So let's just go ahead and get rid of the ones that will not be included in either set. We see 7/10, that's a fraction, and 20.5, that's a decimal. So those numbers will not be included in either sets. So for natural numbers, we're left with 3 and 300. For whole numbers, we have 3 and 300, and we also have that 0. So we have 0, 3, and 300. And for our last example, we have the numbers 0, 4/9, 3.9, 50, and 221. We'll get rid of the numbers that won't be in either set. So we have 4/9, that's a fraction, and 3.9, that's a decimal. They will not be in either set of numbers. So we're left with, for natural numbers, we have 50 and 221. Whole numbers will include natural numbers. So we'll have 50 and 221 included. We also notice that there's a 0. So whole numbers will have 0, 50, and 221. To sum this up, remember that natural numbers are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on, and whole numbers are all of the natural numbers plus 0. So whole numbers will be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on. Check the description below for quick notes and related videos. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.